to the zoning board meeting of January the 15th, our first of the year. Welcome, Happy New Year, everybody. We're joined today online by Lisa, our environmental expert. Also is Linda on the line. Yes, Linda Munn, a member of the zoning board as well, participating remotely. In person, I have to my left Joyce Juvra, and to my right Oren Glick. And with myself, that constitutes a quorum. So let's get going. All right. I understand that we've had a change in the order, if you will, from the agenda. Is that still the case? Instead of Meadowlands first, it will be another case first?
Both Ms. Asado and Mr. Walker have very graciously, both Ms. Asado and Mr. Walker have very graciously allowed me to go first because I have to be in the Zoning Board of Appeals in the town, which was never used to be an issue because they always had the first and third, and you guys had the fourth Thursday. But
okay, so for the record, for those who are following along on the agenda, we're going to take the second case first and the first case second. Meadow Club will go second, and actually, it's not the second case. It's a It's case number 3215 Hamptons HDA 116 North Sea Road under area variances, case number 1 on page 2 of the agenda. That will be first.
The tenant's lawyer, Joseph Gazelle, is here. Just I wanted to announce that he was here. So there's a why I have this can here, and which is a Montauk iced tea can. And I'll get into that just a little bit later.
Submitting it?
Well,
If so, we need copies for all board members. And for the file.
I'll throw it to you, but I wouldn't open it up right away. But in any event,
Just sit down so we can get your testimony so they can hear you.
okay, perfect. My name is John Bennett and Reed for the applicant. This property has a certificate of occupancy issued in 2014 for business retail use on the property. So this is not someone in here trying to establish a retail use in this office district zone. This is a certificated use, and that's a vested and established right. In response to comments raised by the board at the prior public hearing, we submitted correspondence on January 8th, which had additional information, including a copy of the prior lease agreement with Georgia Builders and Emerging Beverages Distribution L. Limited. And as specifically noted in the lease, the use of the property was for retail uses, was one of the uses. Quote, tenant acknowledges that it is essential to the lessor that the lessee utilize the premises at all time for retail sales. Accordingly, lessee shall share the premises with its related companies, Montauk Beverage Works and Emerging Beverages Distribution, which shall conduct retail sales at the premises throughout the lease term. So we did give you that on January 8th as exhibit, I believe it's exhibit A. And then, since what you're looking at here is the actual use, we did give you some supplementary material on January 9th, which included yet another affidavit from the tenant, Michael White, who informed through his affidavit that the Montauk Premium Iced Tea was sold through Montauk Beverage Works website, but also retail sales were conducted at the subject premises, and customers who purchased could pick up the product at the subject property. And we also submitted information regarding Montauk Premium Iced Tea, including their website, which contained the 116 North Sea Road as the address. Retail sales were conducted from 2019 until the property was vacated on August 30th, 2022. There's no real dispute about that. The current tenant commenced occupancy on January 7th, 2025. So that's at most it's a 2.5-year gap, and the statute you're dealing with is a 3-year abandonment statute. So the only evidence in the record is that there's been no abandonment. And I think that is where we are. This is a vested property right, and there's been no demonstration. The only demonstration in the record is that this use has not been abandoned. But then I also previously submitted the certificate of occupancy of the property, which specifically notes there's approved parking associated with the retail use on the adjacent property, and that's formerly the Schmitz Market, and is now the Red Horse Market. Give me 1 second. So I don't know what the best way is, and the reason I have the can obviously is to show that this is one of the beverages, a Montauk iced tea, that was actually the subject of retail sale at the site from 2019 until August 30th, 2022. And again, the current tenant, which is retail sales, Mr. Brazel's client, commenced the occupancy in January of 2025, January of last year. But then I gave you case law to the effect, not to the effect, but what says is that where you have multiple non-conforming uses on the site, if you have to abandon, there has to be a complete cessation of those uses. So even though we've demonstrated by all the proof in the record that this use was not abandoned, even assuming for the purposes of argument, and so just a belt and suspenders argument, even assuming for the purposes of argument that this retail use in the barn was abandoned, which it wasn't, there is retail parking on this property servicing what was Schmitz Market and is now the Red Horse Market. And I put this in our submissions, but I have it, I've highlighted the parking that's on the, that services what's now Red Horse Market that is on the subject property. And it's not just something that happened by agreement, it's something that happened in a planning board specific approval. And I'm well aware of it because I handled it many years ago for Dennis Schmidt. So again, you have not only the continued uninterrupted for a period of not the 3-year period, well shy of the 3-year period. Not only do you have the continued uninterrupted retail use, but you have a second retail use on the property which continues to this day. So again, even for the purposes of argument, the board doesn't accept the provided affidavits, and that's the only evidence in the record. And those affidavits confirm the continued retail use. The CO specifically recognizes the continued on-site parking for the adjacent retail market, which is also a non-conforming use. So, and these, as the case law says, where you have multiple non-conforming uses, you can abandon one temporarily and reconstitute it as long as all the non-conforming uses on the property haven't been abandoned. So this is interesting because of all the years I've practiced, this is the first time that I've ever seen the village try to force an abandonment of a pre-existing non-conforming use, let alone one that was certificated in 2014. It's sort of no harm, no foul here. I know that's not part of the standard, but just in terms of getting you comfortable with my position from a policy and a broad overlook point of view, this is a property that is not in a retail, in a residential zone. It's in a business zone to begin with. It's surrounded by pre-existing non-conforming uses. All the evidence in the record demonstrates that there has not been a cessation for the required period of the nonconformity, and even if, assuming arguendo, there had been of this use, the continued use of other nonconforming use protects it from any sort of abandonment, as long as that use, i.e. the parking, the nonconforming retail parking from the adjacent parcel, approved by the planning board, was continued and not abandoned. That's really all I have to say. I think the record speaks for itself. I don't think there's been anywhere near that very high bar of demonstrating that there's been some sort of abandonment of a use that's not only an established one, but one that's recognized and certificated by the village. And I guess I'll take back my Montauk iced tea, mother of all antioxidants, in here. But I'll just use for the record the fact that I demonstrated that's one of the products. And did you want to say something about the current?
Very
Just
briefly.
introduce yourself.
Joseph Buzzell, B-U-Z-Z-E-L-L. The firm is Buzzell, Blanda, and Visconti. We are at 535 Broad Hollow Road, Suite B4 in Melville. First thing I'll say is that the board is not going to put that can of beverage into the record. I'm going to drink it on the way home. I represent the tenant, Jenny's Barn. Jenny loves Southampton. I've submitted some photos of the store the last time around. I have more if the board wants them. I think the store fits the village. And she very much wants to continue to operate in the village. And I think it's all positive. I've read the documents Mr. Bennett put in. I've read the village code and the law. I've been doing this at 62. I've been doing this a long time. I think his case is very clear. On the other hand, even if we take for the sake of argument that it were not clear, it's certainly gray. When I started my career in the town of Babylon, I remember the town attorney told me, he said, if there's room to debate something, we as the town should not say no unless we could find a clear public benefit. In other words, we're doing something, we're denying somebody something. If there's an argument that we should do it and we decide not to, we should have a very clear benefit. I don't see any benefit by shutting down this store. My client, people have spoken to the Red Barn next door. They're happy to have her because the more people they feel come into that little nook, the better. In fact, they even asked her to put in a little walkway with them because their parking is on her site, but there's a fence. So what they were talking about is if a gate was put in a fence, could there be a little bit of a walkway so people can come back and forth? Neither store is in the heart of the downtown like what we have over here. So the pedestrian traffic is not the same. People don't just walk by because they're enjoying the day. It becomes a little more of a destination. So it helps that particular property and it helps that particular area. And I can't see a downside. I can't. I've been doing this a long time. I've been involved in this case for a while. And I think Mr. Bennett's record is very strong. And I'm not seeing what would argue against that record. But I also think that if for any reason you look at the record and it seems a little short, it's amazing he found the documentation he did. It's not easy to document the past, And I say that because one of the things I love about Southampton is it goes back to colonial times. I'm in a Mayflower Society, so I probably had relatives related to those people on that wall. I love history. Documenting history is a whole nother situation, even more recently, particularly in the pre-internet days, which is not that long ago. Jenny runs a good shop. It's beautiful. It's positively received. And I think that it makes the most sense to have her continue to operate for that property and that area in the village generally. Thank you.
So anyway, I just want to make sure you have all of the various affidavits, the site plans, the certificates of occupancy, Michael White's 2 affidavits, my submissions of January 8th and January 9th. And unless there are any questions, I think you have all you need to make a determination.
I've got a few questions, but first, Linda or online or anyone, does anyone have any questions on this case?
No, I don't right now.
No? Okay. You want to kick it
I
off?
just a question, just from a technical standpoint, of a legal technicality. So the parking conundrum, or the unique situation, that parking that's been there, and it's kind of a non-conforming situation.
It's a non-conforming retail parking.
Right. So it's retail. So what you're saying is that if that, because that exists, and now it's existing for Red Horse, before that it was Schmidt's.
Yes.
What's happening on that property, which is the barn, we're calling it the barn, right? You can make that connection that the retail never ended, the retail allowance,
I'll give
or
you
that exception, or whatever, that because of the parking carve out?
It could be a totally different non-conforming use. There doesn't have to be a connection. There's a Court of Appeals case, and there's some progeny to that case, in which it came out of a situation in Westchester County. Someone had this, for the purposes of explanation, it may not be exactly the case, but this is the way it worked. Somebody had this is the simple way to explain it. Somebody had 3 buildings on one piece of property, and they took away one. These were non-conforming, and they took away one, and then they came back and they wanted to reconstitute this one after not having people live there.
They didn't take it down.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because they didn't put it into the use. That's the pivotal point. And the Court of Appeals, highest court in the state of New York, said if you have multiple nonconformities on one piece of property, unless you abandon all of them, if you retain one, here the parking, nonconforming retail parking, you can later on, even if you've stopped using the other one, boot it up again because you haven't abandoned the entire nonconformity. And that's the law of the state of New York. Hold on a second. We put this in here. Abandonment, this is the Court of Appeals, Marzella versus Monroe. Abandonment does not occur unless there has been a complete cessation of the non-conforming use. A complete cessation. Here there was no evidence that the entire non-conforming use had been abandoned. So what do you have on this site? It's an OD zone. You have what we claim is retail, and the only proof in the evidence and the record shows is a continuing retail use. Joe's client, the prior tenant, but you also have a non-conforming retail parking use approved by the planning board in a site plan that services this other non-conforming use. It's like I always like to have 2 arguments. So
Yeah.
my argument is that even if for some reason, and I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't, you just discount Mr. White's affidavits, which are not only, he's not just saying it, he's got exhibits, he's got his website, he's got, leases. Even if you were to discount that, you still have, if you want to pull that part of the CO, which I don't think you can, you still have the issue that you have this other non-conforming parking use on the property. It's a retail parking use. So it could be a different use. It's not necessarily that there's a linkage between I call this Inez McQuinney's barn because she had a retail use out of there for years. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're related. It just means that there's a separate non-conforming use on this very parcel.
And then the other part, from 2019 to 2022, that can there.
Right.
You said there was retail sales there,
Yep.
or was it warehousing?
Nope. Right in it. You said people would come in and
So
buy.
they would purchase online and pick up there?
Purchase online or purchase directly there. Yep.
Who said people would come in? Who
It's
said?
in his affidavit. I
Who
gave
was
you.
that?
Okay, Brian,
Who wrote the
the
affidavit?
affidavit speaks for itself.
Okay.
Yep, the affidavit speaks for itself. He said
Okay.
people would pick up product at the site.
Okay. Just want to understand.
So if somebody's physically taking delivery of this can, that's a retail sales. And the lease specifically provides for it. It's not a very high burden.
No, I'm just talking about these specific things. So I know retail, and there's retail transactions, and then there's holding and pickups. There's two
So
disparate
people would come
things.
in and, well, I don't know.
Is it,
You'd
is
have-
it
you'd
retail?
have-
It was retail there? You walk in, park, pick up,
Puts it in
shop?
his affidavit. Put it in his affidavit. He would
Like the beverage center
deliver
around the
on-
corner?
Yeah, it's no
that?
different, really.
Okay.
I mean, you can call up, or you can go online
Yeah.
on the beverage center and say, I'm gonna come over, and it's still retail sales there.
I had related questions, so can I jump in
Sure.
and
Yeah,
join
please.
you on
Yeah, I
this?
just
So,
want to understand.
I'm just looking to understand.
Yeah.
I want to take a look at his affidavit that was submitted on January 9,
Mm-hmm.
Michael White's. And on page 2 of the affidavit, I have a couple of questions. And again, I don't have any analysis, I just have open-ended questions, right? So I'll wait for you to get there. It's section 5A of the affidavit I have a question on.
That's what's in his lease.
Right, I understand that. So his affidavit acknowledges that the lease says that, and I'm going to ask a question about this, at the last two lines, Montauk Beverage and Emerging Beverages, which will conduct retail sales. It's a promise, they will. It
Yeah.
doesn't say they did.
Well, but they did.
Where's the evidence of that? That's what I'm
It
looking
says
for.
that during my tenancy, customers could both pick up product.
They could.
Yeah.
That doesn't say they did. Do you have any evidence
Okay,
that
well,
they
if
did?
you would like, we can adjourn this, and I'll get another affidavit from Michael White where he says what I think is obvious, but if that's a gap for you, that's fine, where they physically
Do you have
did pick
any
up sales.
receipts or anything? And I'll tell you the reason I'm
He's
asking.
no longer the tenant there.
Pardon me?
Yeah, he's no longer the tenant there.
No, but when he was there, he was conducting a business?
Yes.
Does he have any evidence of the income from that business at that particular site that people came in and bought?
Let me be incredibly direct with you. This is a certificate of occupancy. He has an absolute, it's a property right. If you want to pull his certificate of occupancy, I will give you plenty of case law. No, let me finish. I'll give you plenty of case law that says the burden is on you.
I'm just asking.
I'm not here trying to establish, the burden is clearly on the municipality. I'm not here trying to establish that there was a retail use there. There's a CO for it. And if you want to demonstrate that it's been abandoned, you need something other than the building inspector saying, quote, contrary to an affidavit from the neighbor, Mrs. Banks, and contrary to the tenant's affidavit, you need something contrary. You need something. You're a lawyer, Carol. You gotta put the facts on the scale. There ain't nothing there.
Okay, so
Chris says in a letter, I hold to my position that it's been abandoned. It's pure conclusory.
all right, I got another question on the affidavit. So
Okay.
I just have a bunch of
But
questions.
if you
to
want
that.
me to have a supplementary affidavit
Well-
where that he says that people actually came in, I think that's like a semantics thing. But they did.
Well, let me continue my question. All right.
And that might be my fault as the drafter of the affidavit. He said to me,
Well,
people would come in and pick the stuff up if you
I'm
want.
just asking questions.
Okay.
All right, so my first question is I'd love to see some evidence of actual sales, receipts or something.
I'm
And I'll
not,
get to
I'm
why
not
in a
required to
second.
do that. I'll take that under advisement. I'm
Okay.
not required to do
Okay,
that.
and then
If you
under-
think that there's been a cessation of the use of a certificated use, I'll give you and your counsel the case law. The burden's on you. I've
I'm
put the prima
trying-
facie case in.
Let me ask some questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Section 7 says, the second sentence says, during my tenancy, customers could both pick up product purchase on sale through online sales or could purchase directly. Again, I'd love to see some evidence that they did.
I will take that under
Receipts.
advisement. I don't think it's necessary, but I'll
Okay,
take that
well, let
under
me,
advisement.
I'll get to that later.
Okay.
You can keep going. That was my,
I'm good.
you're good? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to understand.
So certificate of occupancy that you provided, that's from back in 2014.
Mhm.
That talks about what's may be done there. Do you have any, again, receipts showing that they actually did use it for retail use during the period in question?
Which period in question?
During the abandonment, the alleged abandonment period
Well-
suggested by the,
Well, here's the proof in the affidavit.
well, that's the could. Do you have any evidence that it did?
Well, I will ask Michael, and as the drafter of this affidavit, to me, it wasn't even an issue. That meant that happened there. I'll ask him to,
Okay.
we'll ask him.
Okay.
I asked him if that happened. He said it did. And forgive me, I just assumed during my tenancy, customer could both pick up product purchased through online
Right.
sales or could purchase directly at the location.
And then the
To
other
me,
question-
you know, anyway.
The other question I had is a little more complex, but it gets to the law,
Okay.
if I may. Certainly the lease, as you pointed out, absolutely says that they have to utilize the premises at all times for retail sales. It is in boldface, underlined retail sales, no question about it. When I take a look at some of the cases, are you familiar with the case of Cuomo versus Rush, which is a Suffolk County case?
Cuomo versus
Rush?
Rush.
Yeah.
State of Madeline Cuomo versus Rush. Yes,
So how
I'm
do you,
extremely familiar with it because I was counsel
right,
for one of the,
right.
I have a history of that case that would take me easily a half an hour. I'm extremely well. And what that involved was the question of whether or not the use had been abandoned because it hadn't been kept open by a substantial use of a non-conforming use. And the second department mistakenly grafted on to the Southampton Town Code, which only required the use, did not have the word substantially in it. The second department incorrectly grafted that onto the Southampton statute. If you look at the record of that case, I'll try to find it in the boxes in my office. I had affidavits from 2 building inspectors, Newt Wilford and one other building inspector, that said under the Southampton Town Code, the use could be maintained merely by opening it up one day in the year.
So that wasn't my question, though,
Okay.
about the case. So it appears, I'm not here as a lawyer.
But it's
so-
really an opposite case because what it does is it interprets the Southampton Town Code.
So,
If you
Village
look at the
Code
case, I
section-
was counsel for the appellant.
got the case.
Mhm.
Village Code Section 11619F, which is the abandonment section, it lays out the 5 forms of abandonment. Section 1B is the hot topic of the day. It prohibits reinstatement of a non-conforming use, quote, when a building or structure has not in fact been actually used.
Mhm.
Not in fact been actually used. So that's why I'm asking these noxious questions. That
Okay.
Can you show me actual use, not in a lease they promise or in the CO they allow? Let me finish.
Okay, I can-
And in the case of Cuomo, they specifically go into what actual use means. And so that's, I just want to explain
I can
why.
tell you, as counsel for the estate of Madeline Cuomo versus Rush, it was Ed Rush, that in that case, it was a nightclub. It was
Right.
the nightclub which was called The Cave. It was in East Quogue. It was a subterranean nightclub, and it had been used one day of the year.
Right, one
The
day each
applicant
year.
the property owner opened it up one day every year to maintain the use. And the building inspectors, the former building inspectors, all said that was satisfactory. 3-2 vote in the Zoning Board of Appeals. The matter was adjourned 5 times because Ed Rush didn't like the applicant. And adjourned the case 5 times so he could coerce somebody into a third negative vote, 3-2 vote. It's
Right.
the case
So,
has so much
well, the reason I'm raising
subculture
this-
on it. It's just, and I know it very well because I was counsel for the
Right.
applicant.
So the standard is actual use. I'd love to see anything you've got on actual use. It'd be very helpful. Okay? Under
And
that
again,
Cuomo
with
brush.
my advisement, under my advisement, because I don't think the burden's on me. You want to take away this guy's certificate of occupancy, I will get you case law that says the burden's on you.
I'm not talking about burden. I'm saying I got a statute that tells me I got to find actual use. Help me find actual use.
But I don't have to, because it's not my job to demonstrate it. I've got a CO.
Okay.
Understand, Carol, I have a CO that says I'm entitled to this retail use.
If you actually,
If I might, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you're missing the point.
I'm not missing the point, Brian, and you know something, Brian? When you phrase things that way, I really take umbrage, because God knows I ain't missing the point.
John,
we
I
have-
think we're just asking. Carol is very methodical. We have our job to do. Obviously, you have your job to do on behalf of the applicant, but we're not trying to be confrontational. We're just trying to ask for more information to make sure that we can get to a good conclusion under what we're charged to do here in the village.
No, Joyce, but I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that my reading of all of this is that I've more than met a burden that's not even mine.
Yes, but John, we're not going to engage in an argument. It's a waste of everybody's time, your time, our time. So Carol's asked for further
And I'm
information.
taking it under advisement.
Okay, and so I think we're good, right?
yeah, I have one more question on parking. So parking is classified in the code as an accessory use. Can you, you may not be able to do it now, come back to us. Can you show me where parking is classified as either retail or versus office or residential?
Well, parking, if I have, the parking at your house in a residential zone is a residential use. The parking when I go into a store on Main Street, the parking is retail. You
And
can't
that's not what I'm
divorce the
asking.
two of them.
Sorry, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Where in the code does it define parking, distinguishing it as retail parking looks like this, here's the code, and here's, a personal
parking.
or,
It wouldn't, because
office
it's
parking.
inextricably bound to the
Okay,
use.
all right, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff in the village code that's not specifically defined, but
Okay.
I can't,
Those are my questions.
well, here's a good question. Let me ask you something. Could you rent out on your house parking spaces for somebody to use in conjunction with a retail use somewhere? Of course you couldn't. Because the parking lives with this designated and established use.
Okay. All right.
If I could make one final comment on the issue of prior proof, my client would be happy to help the landowner. But there may not be much, if anything, out there. We're talking prior tenants, and we're going back years. Who knows what records they kept?
Well, no, we're talking about Michael White, who's submitting affidavits saying
Yeah,
he
I mean,
did
for
use
another
it, so-
affidavit, okay, but the thought that he would have register receipts or any other information
Well, he's
that
got to
would
be
do.
income receipts somewhere.
Well,
His
would that
taxes or other
necessarily say,
purposes.
probably, maybe of the transaction, but not indicating where the person collected
Okay,
so I don't want it to come down to demonstrating that, because it may not be
Okay.
possible at this point.
fair enough. So, any other questions?
I don't think so.
So what do you want to do, John, at this point? Do you want to try to come back with the question, with the receipts or evidence that something happened actually, was, whether that property was actually used for the retail purposes, or would you rather just us close it out now and we make a decision based on everything you've given us so far? I'll leave it up to you.
Adjourn it, get another affidavit.
Okay, I'll go back to Michael, see what he has, but that's under advisement, because I don't think that's at all my burden.
It's up to you.
I will also provide you with ample case law that says, if you're claiming that the use has been abandoned and you're claiming that you want to remove that portion of the certificate of occupancy, the burden is on you. You have no evidence in the record.
I just wonder how you
Zero.
want to proceed.
Zero evidence. You have Chris's conclusory statement, and by the way, this is the first time in probably 20 years I've been on a different side of a disagreement with Chris. I think he's a magnificent building inspector. I think he's a great guy. He just happens to be wrong in this instance.
Okay, so again,
Now,
you're,
we'll kick it over. Let me see what I can get, if I can get anything from Michael, and if I determine that that's an appropriate request.
okay,
That's fair,
all
I
right,
think.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, have a good night.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh, I forgot, sorry. Are there any comments from anyone in the audience on this case? I neglected to ask that. Are there
So
any
she's bringing in someone on Zoom,
comments
I
on
believe.
anyone on Zoom? All right, thank you. I neglected to ask that. Thank you so much, Brian. So we've got somebody online. Thanks, sorry
No
about that.
questions.
Thank you.
Are you
All
gonna
right.
drink that?
No, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, we got somebody on Zoom, I think.
Northport.
Is there one more person?
Is there someone on Zoom who has a question on the case? No? Got his hand up. Linda's okay with it. Is it someone other than Linda? Sorry,
Yes,
John.
no,
I know
maybe.
you have to go. I just don't want to stand. No? Okay. All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it, and thank you.
So Carol, is there a motion to adjourn
Do I
this
hear a
case to
motion
the
during
next
this
meeting?
case until the next meeting? Do I hear a motion?
Yes.
Yes?
Aye.
So
All those in
moved.
favor?
And a
Aye.
second was
Linda?
Rose.
No, second,
Aye.
yes.
I'm
And all
sorry,
those in
second.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
And Linda's as well. Thank
Great.
you. Appreciate that. All right. So, Meadow Club. The next case is the first case on the agenda, which is Meadow Club. It's case number 3204. Thank you very much for your patience.
Freezing.
Have a good night.
Should I make the statement now?
Yes.
Yeah, let me make a statement before we begin. So there has been a request by someone in the area. They've indicated that they have not had an opportunity on their own time to review all the papers and documents that the Meadow Club has worked very hard to put together. And so they've asked that the actual decision be put off, if you will, to the next meeting. Meadow Club has been in contact, council has been in contact with them and has graciously said sure. And in fact, she provided all the materials to them and is working with them. So we're going to hear the case again today, but the decision will not be made today for no reason other than out of respect for the deference to another person in the neighborhood, which the Meadow Club is kindly providing. Thanks.
Mary Jane Assato, Burke Flanagan Assato, 21 South Main Street, for the applicant and owner. I first filed this application in April, as you well know, and you've been very patient because I've had to modify it several times to address concerns that were raised by Mr. and Mrs. Carl. But frankly, I'm very pleased to say that it was well worth it because we were able to address all of their issues. And the last modification to the application was actually to mitigate what they were concerned about. So you're now, I believe that you've gone to the property. This property is 18 acres in size, and it has been, the first deed, as you can see from what I submitted, was acquired in 1887. Then there was additional land added in 1912, and then again in 1925. All previous to zoning, which was first adopted in Southampton Village, November 7th, 1930. So this is a decades-long pre-existing use, and basically, hopefully, they've been, up to this point, good neighbors. Because it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, anything that's done on this property, as you well know, has to come before your board. And so what's before you today, I'm going to distill it, is we're proposing to tear down an existing junior sports activity building, and we're proposing to construct a little larger building in the same location, substantially the same location, and that building is, hold on a second, 3,788 square feet in total. It is roofed structure, so even though a portion of it is just roofed porch, as you well know, I have to count the entire square footage of the building that's under the roof. So we have an existing sports activity building. We're going to remove it, and we're going to build a new one, single story, in that place. We are also proposing to add addition to an existing garage. David could speak, David Price, who was here with me, can speak to if you need more clarification, but a lot of equipment is needed to maintain, specialized equipment for the grass tennis courts. It's actually sent from England, and they're sort of running out of space because you can't leave it outside. He says they're rather specialized, and with various grooming and other things required to maintain the premises, they really could use that additional space. So we're talking about adding on to the existing garage that is there. It's not a new building, it's an addition. So that is also located in this area, all right? We are also proposing to, because of what's being done there, we're going to relocate the existing basketball court, so orientation. There's a basketball court there, but we're proposing to remove that and relocate it. It's 40 by 70 feet. It's located 150 foot from the wetlands, and it includes 2 hoops at the north and south ends. As I said, we have a court there. We're going to remove that and put in a new court. We are also proposing to reconfigure what's called the tennis, the paddle tennis area. There are 3 raised platform tennis courts. I've learned a lot about racket sports. Apparently it's a winter sport, they're going to remove one of them, leave two. They're going to reconfigure it so that the warming hut, they're going to take down the existing warming hut. They're going to build a new warming hut. That warming hut is not going to change in total square footage, but it's going to become a sort of rectangular building versus a more square building. So because of the proposed removal of the platform tennis and the introduction of 2 new padel courts, which is going to be added to the property. So you're talking about removing the warming hut, removing all the decking related to it, removing a platform tennis court, and rejuggling that area to add 2 new padel courts, a reconstructed, different configuration warming hut, and then aligned next to it the 2 remaining platform tennis courts and the decking associated with it. All right? So, but that is all here and here. Last but not least, we're proposing to put up the sound attenuating wall over the existing fencing. Not wall, it's fencing, but it's padded acoustical materials. It's right here. We have existing fencing. I'm sorry, it's right here. This is the pre-existing multi-use hard court, concrete court, and pickleball court. Mr. and Mrs. Carl was concerned about the noise, the fact that we're not doing anything there, but we addressed it by retaining sound experts, and he and Mr. and Mrs. Carl actually hired the leading sound expert in the Midwest, and we came up with, well, what is required to address what they were concerned about, and we have agreed to, provided you grant the necessary relief, to put on, to supplement the existing fencing there with a sound barrier wall. Now, I had, in my revised application, submitted to you that if a height variance was required, we would be requesting it, but in further examination, I noted that the limitations on height are only applicable for fencing if I am within a required yard. And I think Alex would confirm, we are not in a required yard. I already have existing fencing there, but even to add this, because we're too close to the wetlands, and this is the rain garden that we put in many years ago, I need to get relief to do that, all right? Because anything that's added to whatever's there, doesn't matter if it's at the same distance, because of the pre-existing non-conforming situation and the proximity of the wetlands, I do require you to review it, your consultants to review it, and for relief to be granted to do that. But no height relief is required. It's just the setback relief from the wetlands.
A wetlands permit, I should
Yes,
say.
yes,
Not
as a wetlands
relief,
permit.
yeah.
And I have spoken to Mr. Bregman today. They're pleased that we work with them, to come to this solution, because we really do want to be good neighbors, all right? So what we have here is basically working with what's already, as you can see here, on this large property. Most of the improvements are centrally located. And what we have is lawn tennis surrounding and a playing field. I'm here for lot coverage because even though these are grass tennis courts and not all of them are used at the same time, all of the possible use of them is counted in total lot coverage. So as I indicated to you in my submission, basically, even though the 36 grass tennis courts are in rotation, and I learned a lot about tennis too, the reason is because apparently when you play on them, it's David said to me, haven't you ever watched Wimbledon? The grass gets worn, and that has to grow back, and we have to resod. So because we of course don't use them, because then they would all be, damaged. So yes, there's 36 grass tennis courts utilized in rotation, 259,200 square feet total, okay? So that all counts toward lot coverage. And that's one of the reasons I'm before you for the lot coverage variance, because when you count all of them they count for lot coverage purposes, even if they're not used in rotation. I really feel that that's a material fact here. And of the total 809,000 plus square feet, 18 acres, 18.574 acres, only 80,449 is attributable to existing buildings and other structures beyond these grass courts, all right? So I mention this because I think it goes into the totality of, one, I know that your board and legitimately is concerned about not setting precedent by granting certain variances. I submit to you that the Meadow Club, whatever, if you should choose to grant relief, cannot be used by any residential property owner or even commercial property owner for that matter as precedent, because it's hard pressed to be a membership club from the late 1800s, and that predates zoning by decades, and also to have this situation where you're counting grassed area that's in rotational use for lot coverage. So I know that you are very sensitive to that because you don't want this case to be thrown back at you. The only other pre-existing non-conforming use that I'm aware of that had some similar issues here, but even they don't have such large land is the bathing court at the end of Agawam. And I'm familiar with that property because my firm did work for that for that property in many instances when they had to do things to change their structures. So the variances here, I do think they're really recapped. If you look back, my partner was here in 2008, and for the last work that they were doing there, and he indicated to the board at that time that the 50% that was used and set as a baseline in 1996 only included the apartment and living spaces. And I believe I submitted all of those decisions, but what he says clearly is because they didn't have to, they didn't count all of the club habitable space. They were there before in 1996 to increase the apartments and the bathrooms. So they basically struck and said, well, these are the apartments and bathrooms and staff quarters that we have. And based on that, this is our expansion. And that's where that square footage came in. When they came back in 2001, again, they said this is the most restrictive, using only the apartments and the bathrooms, and that's our baseline. In 2008, he clearly points out to the board, the expansions previously now includes, things that were not bedrooms and bathrooms, yet we are submitting to you that the overall non-conforming use is actually greater than the bedrooms and bathrooms. So you have to look at your 2008 decision, which I submitted in the letter that my partner submitted, and the 2001, and the new calculation, which is, I submit to you that we don't meet 50% if you count all of the building, the clubhouse, dining room space, the sunroom space, etc. That I give to you in a chart, and I give to you in a chart all of the previous additions, and we still have space there, so we're under the 50% threshold of non-conforming use expansion. And if you have any questions about that after you review the 2008, 2001, and 1996 submissions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, because obviously there will be a continuation of this hearing. But it is our position that we don't exceed 50% of non-conforming use. If you read the 1996 decision, actually, the village and the village attorney at that time had said that the overall encompassing use was non-conforming, and that the provisions of the accessory buildings versus main buildings were not applicable to this property. I wanted to take a more conservative view, and that's why, and in fact, I had spoken to Alex before I submitted this to say, look, I'm not taking the position that the youth building is, main, because I'm just going to say it's accessory, and we're going to go with that. And that's why I asked for a height variance, okay? Because obviously, only accessory buildings have height variance requirements, not main buildings. And in the 1996 decision, it had said, we find that the limitations on accessory buildings set forth in section 116(9)A, 1B, D, E, and F are not appropriately applicable to the non-conforming use here involved and the proposed enlargement or extension. Despite that, I didn't want to get into an argument of, yes, it's main, it's not main, so I took the most conservative view, like my partner has done in the past, and said, all right, the main clubhouse, the main staff quarters, we're going to say that's primary. We're going to say the activity building is accessory, all right, because I don't really want to get into those semantics. And because the architect said that the roof line aesthetically, the building would, nobody can see this building, by the way, except from second floor, from way away, would not look right. So in good faith, I'm saying to you why I classified it as an accessory building and why I'm looking for the height variance, rather than going back to the 1996 decision saying none of the buildings here are accessories except the garages, okay? So I know that you can say, well, gee, design this building with a lower roof height. I'm told aesthetically by the architect, and considering it's very little that I'm asking for on height, I submit to you that if you weigh and balance, hopefully you'll find in the favor of the applicant that there is no detriment here to grant that small height variance should you permit the enlargement of the junior activity building. So if we go through the 5-prong test here, can I accomplish this by any other means than a variance? No. As I noted to you before, this property is in a residential zone, and anything that's done here requires a variance. And absent doing nothing or basically getting rid of the use, I can't make any enlargement. I can't do anything on this. My client can't without a variance. As to, is this the minimum that we need? Well, to accomplish what we're doing, we have an existing garage building. I'm told by David, and he can ask you, if you want to speak to him, David Price, as to the equipment requirements, but apparently it's really a dire need here to be able to properly maintain these courts with his specialized equipment that he has. And he said, look, I've been storing other stuff into sort of rotating outside and inside, and we're having trouble because this equipment really should not be outside, and for us switching around, it's not good for the equipment. We really need this space. The junior activity building doesn't have a bathroom now, and yes, they've been running across the parking lot into the main club facilities to use the facilities. I'm told that for supervision purposes and for other reasons, they want to put the bathrooms in this junior activity building. It will come with health department approved, state-of-the-art, outside of the wetlands jurisdiction sanitary system. And we submit to you that it's a reasonable request under the circumstances. I mean, there is already a junior activity building there. It is pretty much in the same location. It's not going to have any impact to the neighbors in the sense that it's all within the development. And basically, we cannot accomplish this without relief from this board. If you have any specific or further questions, or if you want additional information, if I don't have it here with me today and we can't answer it, we would certainly be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you. All right, before we move on to others, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to help out and make any other additional comments on the presentation? Anyone here at all? All right, do we have anyone on Zoom who'd like to make a comment on the Meadow Club presentation and request?
And I believe we also have Lisa on Zoom.
And I was
if the
gonna
board
go
has
there next.
questions. Yeah.
So now let's turn to the board. Lisa, we could use your help. Any thoughts and comments from Lisa, our environmental expert, on this environmental related request would be great.
Hi. So the what I will say is that there's no increased encroachment in the proposed activity in terms of getting closer to the wetlands area. However, there is increased structure within that setback. So the way the Village of Southampton's code's written is that you have regulated distances from the wetlands. They're not necessarily wetlands themselves, it's a regulated distance. So there is some increased coverage there compared to what is existing, but there's no further encroachment towards the water. They have also managed to get the proposed sanitary system further away from the wetlands so that it won't be within the 200-foot setback, so no permit is required for that element. So as far as the variances themselves are concerned, it's not really a concern for the wetlands permit. The question is just have they maximized their ability to remove these? They've done everything they can to keep the disturbance away from the wetlands and minimize what they're doing in that wetland setback area. Is there anything else that they can do to further mitigate? There may be some opportunities for some, additional wetlands planting in areas closer to the wetlands that are not to compensate for some of the additional coverage there. But overall, they're not taking away any wetlands itself and have, to the extent that this is a non-conforming use and there's not many places to put things without that aren't already being utilized, that would be the one thing I would suggest could be considered.
Excuse me, I just wanted, did you say additional plantings?
If you wanted the
Yeah, I
board-
mean, we're open, I mean, I didn't know if you had any suggestions of, so I can go back to the applicant and say additional plantings here, additional, if that's what you're looking for as mitigation, we're open to it if you sort of, do you have a suggestion where you'd like to see it?
What I would say is that, I know you're coming back one more time. What I could do for another round of public hearings, I can take a closer look and see if there's any area that looks like it could be expanded, perhaps. I think it would be a small offset to, kind of compensate for the different additional coverage area. Not that it was covered by wetlands plants before, but just in the spirit of the code of,
All right,
trying to get.
I'll have.
I can put that in writing so that it's easier to.
Well, also, I can actually have, we're working with Inner Science, and.
They're on the call as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I can ask Jim to actually reach out to you, and as I said, if you feel that as mitigation, that we're sort of constrained here with existing
Yeah.
improvements, but, an additional small area, we're open to that. I'll certainly speak to the board, and Jim will contact you, so maybe between here and the next meeting, we can come up with something.
Oh, that would be excellent. And those are my main comments. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to address them, but.
Lisa, just one question. For the fence that they would use to, control the sound or kind of attenuate the sound, are you concerned about that? Obviously it's right there. And this is a new sport, and I understand what they're trying to address, but are there certain materials that are better to use to protect that, or to keep the sound in than others that are right by the?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm asking Lisa that question,
No,
but I'm asking the same. Okay, go ahead. Lisa?
Sorry, I wasn't sure who the question was. If
It
there
was
was
for you,
another
Lisa.
question
Are you worried about what materials, or is there better materials to use than others? It was just since we're talking
No,
about it.
I think the sound, you get into interesting, a lot of the concern will be that the wall will be solid. So I'm not really concerned about leaching or anything from the wall. I would, the construction is always a concern because there's disturbance associated with construction, and that disturbance can be bigger than the area where the actual construction is going to be. It almost inevitably is. So that is something that also that's actually a good point to raise, that for that area where you are in proximity, to make sure that there is erosion and sedimentation control there. And that may be just an evaluation of those construction methods, because I'm not entirely clear on exactly how the wall is going up. Sometimes those are done with, posting pillars versus digging foundations. That the minimum, to the greatest extent possible, minimizing disturbance and certainly preventing any sedimentation and runoff into the wetlands would be desired there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, the reason I was talking about the wall material is that this sound recommendation was based on a certain type of acoustical board that had to be used to meet the decibels, to meet the Southampton Village Code. So I definitely understand about what Lisa's saying about construction methodology. I mean, we're going to have to hay bale, we're going to have to fence them. That's something that we definitely would have to do, and the building department wouldn't even allow it without conditional situations. I'll have Jim again to coordinate with your consultant, because that's a standard sort of condition that we're going to have to not have any sort of disturbance would have to be restored. We would not be able to allow to have construction runoff going to the water, et cetera. So that can be worked out before the actual condition, your determination, should you decide to proceed that way as part of the conditions, right, Jim?
Right.
Okay, so, yeah, so.
I had a related question on that, Lisa, and for council as well, and that is, we're putting in Padel. The ball has a certain noise, and I don't know if the acoustic barrier will affect this, but my only question, and I'm not accusing, I'm just really asking, is the installation of 2 Padel courts instead of 1 platform tennis court more disturbing to the birds, the bees, the fish, etc.?
Okay, so the acoustical barrier is for the pickleball,
Right.
not the Padel.
Okay.
Okay.
Pickle's the
So
bigger.
then
Yeah, so
my
so
question is,
I learned. I don't play racquet sports, but during this whole process, as I was joking with Alex the other day at his office, I didn't even know there were so many different types of racket sports. Okay, and ball types and things. So just like I learned with the winery about wine, I've now learned a lot about racket sports. It's my understanding the objection by Mr. and Mrs. Carl had to do with the existing pickleball court, okay? And that was what we had to do to meet the residential
Understand.
sound requirements at the property line. Padel is a much softer sport, and we still have to go through site plan approval, by the way. So this is for with the new changes in the code, should you grant the approval to install the 2 new Padel courts, this next step would be for us to go through site plan approval at the planning board level. But from doing all the acoustical things, Padel is, you might as well call it silent compared to pickleball. Okay, pickleball has a rat-a-tat, and it's like
No, I
between the
understand
heart thing versus Padel, it's like tennis essentially. So,
So-
it's my understanding that the sound is not an impact.
okay. So Lisa, is there any impact on wetlands by increasing and putting in the 2 Padels as opposed to platform or,
What we're really seeing is just a small increase in about the size of one of those Padel courts. So they're removing some structures there and replacing, and then they're fitting 2 Padel courts there. So the total, the disturbance you're seeing, it's hard to put it all together because some of the new coverage areas are outside of the wetlands area. But there's you can see there's that existing platform tennis court which is to be removed, and so you're getting a little bit more than one area of coverage there. So And that area is within those, part of that is within the, part of the wetland setback. So in that sense, that area that we're trying to minimize, disturbance in, and discourage development, I would say, is getting a little bit more area, but it's not a significant amount. I think it's pretty much in, it seems to me to be consistent with what has been there. It's a little bit of a change from what's been there, and yeah, there's a small increase. And this is really where I was highlighting that, because this is increasing in coverage here, it would be an opportunity for us to take a look at the site, and Nature Science is very good at doing this, and seeing are there enhancements we can do to kind of, recognizing we're getting a little bit more coverage here that's a little less natural. Like, is there something we can do to maybe just, help preserve and not let the use kind of creep into areas where which we want to keep more natural.
So if we remove the discussion for the moment about lot coverage, forget the coverage increase, don't care about that for the moment. Is there any wetland impact by increasing the Padel court numbers? Is noise pollution an issue with the wildlife, et cetera?
I don't, to my understanding, the noise of the Padel is not necessarily, and I would say that in the context of the use that's on this site, I think that we're not talking about a significant increase.
That's where, good, okay, great. That was my question. All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, any questions from we've asked about the audience, people online? How about folks from the zoning board, Linda, and anyone here? Anyone have any questions?
No, I don't.
Are you the platform tennis that's there now? Are all of them some are being removed, and every one of them are either being removed or renovated, correct?
There are 3 there now.
There are 3 there, so, right.
Like,
I
2
see.
are going to stay and just relocated.
You're just moving them?
Yes, moving them.
Okay.
And then 1 is actually, I believe the village may be getting it, but I'm not sure.
Someone has their hand up? All right, why don't you bring them on in? Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. Welcome your comments.
Yes, I've been trying to speak. First of all, I appreciate the Meadow Club giving a 30-day delay. I have a different view.
Sorry, we need you to introduce yourself, please.
I'm sorry. I'm James Finkelstein. My property adjoins the Meadow Club on the town side. I've lived there for probably 27 years. I have seen over the time the Meadow Club membership grow enormously, which has increased the sounds and the parties and everything else that come out of the Meadow Club. So although I've never complained once in all these years, I do intend to look at this very seriously, and I'll make an appointment with the Meadow Club. I'm in Florida, but I'll come back to see the Meadow Club. But to say that the building that you're putting up is just a small increase when it's going from 800 feet to 3,700 feet, it's another use. It's more noise because people who would normally use that would normally use another building. And so it's just more noise, and I think that building is probably the thing I have the most objection to. But as I said, I just got this very late, and I need to hire, various different people to look into this. But I've never complained before, so I appreciate it, and I will make a date with the people from the Meadow Club. Hopefully it'll be okay. I've never complained before. I don't want to complain now. But I don't think that you can say to minimize this, that it's just a small increase here and a small increase there. I think it's a major increase all over. And it's certainly a big increase in terms of the increasing the size of the building from 800 to 3,700 square feet. So I'm not an expert. I just got this recently. It was very difficult to read, but I will come to New York to look at all this, and I will hire, attorneys and whatever else I have to hire to look into this. And I will meet with the Meadow Club if they wish to meet with me so I can perhaps have no fears, even though I see it as having fears. So I appreciate everybody's tolerance.
All right, well, thanks for your comments, and we look forward to you working with the Meadow Club and seeing what comes out of that. Thank you. Are
Thank
there
you.
any other comments by anyone else?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Mary Jane, could you point to the grassy area just to the west of the existing garage on the satellite photo you have there? Yeah, what is that area? It's not labeled on the plan that I was looking at.
That's the sod repair.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that's where they're growing sod that they use on the grass courts?
Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
No, you had the same question. I thought it was like a putting.
It almost looks like
Yeah,
that,
no,
right?
yeah.
So, I just had one final
I
question.
mean, what do I know?
I just had one final question to help me put this in perspective. When the junior athletic facility increases in size, I'm sure there's a summer enrollment. There always is in these things, right? What is the enrollment now, and what will the enrollment go to? And the reason, to be fair, that I'm asking is this a substantial change for the character of the neighborhood? Are we going to see a lot more cars coming and going? Are we going to see a lot more action going on? So what's the increase, not just in the physical size, but the usage in terms of the roads and people coming and going for the neighbors?
I will speak to David and the youth activity advisor before I make that,
Okay,
and I'll let
fair
you know. But I asked a lot of questions, okay? And part of the expansion here is for the bathroom facilities. So the building, I understand that we're talking about expansion, but as I indicated to you, there's a very well apparently attended youth program right now. One of the things is they really didn't want to, they wanted better supervision rather than saying, oh, two of you guys go to the bathroom and a counselor, that kind of thing, because you have to sort of keep an eye on your youth when you're responsible for them. So a big part of the expansion, or at least a lot of the expansion, is for facilities for boys and girls in this facility. Okay. And if you actually look at it, there's open area with the porch. So when it's not really all four walls, where it's a building. Part of it's total building, other parts is roofed area, and that's why we have this expansion. In fact, I think almost 40% of it is just the roofed open area, not building. But before I speak out of turn, I want to ask, well, are you going to make this building bigger and the awning, and then next thing you're going to have 800 kids rather than 600 kids? I can't answer that right now, but I don't think they were turning away youth applicants because of the size of the building. I think that they were just had different groups rotating, but we will have that responsibility way before the other meeting. I just don't want to, off the top of my head, or go back there and say, oh, gee, because I want them to look at their records as well. All right?
Okay, fair enough. That'd be good. All right. Those are all my questions. And I think all
No, that's the
those questions.
thing, is you're saying intensity of use, which is raised by Mr. Finkelstein,
Right.
all legitimate and reasonable, and I will get a response to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So do I have
And
this?
I know that Mr. Finkelstein is saying that he has to need counsel and noise is a concern. As I indicated, I mean, there are noise ordinances in the village. That was one of the reasons we had to deal with the sound attending in the wall for the pickleball. So I know that he's saying, and obviously if he was concerned that he had noise issues that he hasn't reported, I mean, that is an enforcement issue. And so, we will address them certainly if there is an issue.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough. All right. So with that, as previously discussed, we're going to go ahead and
Adjourn for all purposes?
and have a motion to adjourn for all purposes. Yes, until next month, to give Mr. Finkelstein his opportunity to do what he needs to do. Unless there is any objection to that, do I hear a motion to adjourn to the next meeting?
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
And do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right,
Aye.
it's adjourned.
Thank you.
Next time. Thank you. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
And thank you all. All right, we'll move on down to the next case. So the next case is Madison Avenue Capital Partners, case number 1323. The applicant has requested an adjournment to the next meeting, February 5th. Do I hear a motion to adjourn to the next meeting, February 5th on this application? Motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Aye.
1323 Meadow Lane, case number 3219, adjourned to the next meeting, February 5th. So now we're going to go into our wetland environmental case, case number 3221, Anthony Paduano and Ruth Porat, and I apologize if I mispronounced that.
And Brian, I think you have the affidavits for that. Where do you think? Do I have them? I may have
No,
them.
not for, I don't have them for this case.
I may have them.
I hand-delivered them today.
Okay, looks like I have them. All right, thank you.
All right. Hello.
Jim Walker from InterScience. This is John Ciccarello. He's the graphics expert. This is Anthony
Jim, can you pull
Paduano
that microphone real close?
and Ruth Porat, 137 South Main Street.
Jim, you can't hear you. Can you just put?
This one?
Either
Yeah.
one.
That one.
You have one too, John. All right. You good? Alex?
Yep, so close.
This is 137 South Main Street. I was the person that got the last set of permits for Anthony Paduano. We are asking for a variety of very small improvements. However, the impact to the property is to make the house a shingle house. It's currently a stucco house. So the look of the house is what you see on this paper print in front of the board. Let me turn that around so you can see it.
No, you're gonna face it towards you?
No.
And then they'll pick it up on the screen
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, so-
Thank
All
you.
right.
Otherwise, it'll be upside down for everyone.
You should give me technical advice ahead of time. Okay, so what you see is a shingle-style house. This is a Frank Greenwald project. Frank Greenwald was hired to do work on this particular property. Mr. Paduano had me walk through the basement. There are some basement aspects of the proposal. Prior property owner was Sam Swint. Sam Swint was a big part of the Meadow Club and also the Bathing Corp. And Sam Swint was a wonderful guy to work for, and Anthony Paduano said he built this thing very strong. So the basement that's there has a lot of support and things that don't allow any practical use of the area. So Frank Greenwald has some request in that regard as well. So the variances that we're asking for is a proposed egress window to be located 128.5 feet from the wetlands. Proposed west covered porch, 122.8 from the wetlands. Proposed north covered porch, 102.4 from the wetlands. A proposed northwest roof deck, 110 feet from the wetlands. A proposed family entry porch is 147 feet from the wetlands. It's on the other side of the house, going east. One of these items is incorrect, Alex. Proposed southwest 8-foot by 6-foot dry well, 130 feet from wetlands. That's for the new residential improvements. A proposed pool dry well to be located 90.9 feet from the wetlands. I got that approval the last time through. The pool dry well is there.
So that's existing?
It's been there since the last project.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. I thought it was labeled proposed on the plan, that's why I was.
It is.
Oh,
I believe the reason why it's proposed is a comment from the village indicated that it should be shown as proposed. For the record, that's my son that does the site planning for the Rayner Group. If you look on the initials, it says EJW.
Can you show the plan and maybe we can point to
that's
the
Ethan.
drywall we're talking about for the board?
Can you pick it up, John?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay, now, you're looking at the Rayner Group. My son went to work there as an engineer in training June 2nd. And you will notice, up at the top, there's an existing swimming pool. That pool drain has always been there. It was required the last time through. So the fact that it's mislabeled is kind of a product of a comment from the village and my son trying to finish the work. It took a considerable amount of time to get from the point where we had these drawings to the point where you had a full, complete application. So that's a holiday. That's what, when you make a mistake on a set of plans, we call it a holiday. Like when you're painting a room and you leave part unpainted, that's a holiday. So that's a mistake.
So that's an existing dry well that already has a permit?
Right. The pool is new. It's dramatically different than what was there when I was working for Mr. Paduano at the last set of applications. And the pool drywall is new. So all that part is going to stay the same. So we have a very small increase in maximum lot coverage from 8682 to 9142. So that is a very small amount of residential improvements. The residential improvement that is important is the family entry on the far side of the house away from the pond. So not so much a wetlands situation, but it is important for the overall use of the family. Mostly what you see is a change from a stucco house to a shingle style house. And I have a punch list from Frank Greenwald, which tells me what the intentions are. For the residential improvements. So the architectural improvements amount to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 basic concepts. It's an interior renovation of an existing wood frame residence. They're going to remove the existing west porch and replace it with a more traditional design in a slightly smaller size. Remove the existing front entry vestibule and replace with a new vestibule of approximately the same size. Add a new family porch. The new family porch, again, is on the east side, so not really a wetlands concern. Add 2 small additions to the second floor, total approximately 106 square feet. So we have 106 square feet of small additions. Reduce the existing roof line. John, you pull up the A20. We're lowering the roof line. And I don't know if you can see it on that plan very well, but we're lowering the roof line. We're lowering the roof line to make it a shingle-style house. We're making it a Frank Greenwald architectural design. So the roof line is getting lowered in that particular area. The basic design is remove stucco exterior siding, replace windows and doors, and resurface and shingles, transition to a more traditional shingle style. I know it's not the board's purview, but this has to go in front of the ARB, and it's going to go to the ARB as soon as we clear wetlands issues. John, can you bring out the planting plan? For Anthony Paduano, 137 South Main Street, my office got a wetlands planting plan approved. That's it. That used to be a pure stand of common reed, and it was replaced, and wetlands plants were planted. Mr. Paduano has added some plants back into those areas over the years, but by and large, the wetlands buffer is still there. And I think that's all I have to offer. Mary Jane Assato is the attorney. Burke Flanagan and Assato have always represented Anthony Paduano. Any legal issues will provide insight from Mary Jane.
All right.
We have very small additions to this house. Again, the real interest on this project is we're making it a shingle-style house.
Okay. Are there any comments from anyone in the audience today? Are there any comments from anyone on Zoom? Other than Linda, perhaps? Okay. So let's turn to the board. Do y'all have any, I have a few questions, but do y'all have any questions you want to kick off with?
No, not at this point. I think I'd like to hear what Lisa has to say, so.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say that first.
Yeah.
I really wrote it down. Lisa, every time I write it down, I forget. I'd love to hear your comments, because I have some questions and you'll probably answer that. So what are your comments on this particular case? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So I'll start with a few positives I just observed on this application, which is that they're proposing to upgrade the septic system, and it's fully outside of the 200-foot wetland setback, and it will be an IA system, which is all like a real positive. Will be an improvement for, even that far away will be an improvement for the water quality in Agawam Lake and for the wetlands. So that's just a note of a positive in this. Obviously the home is, large portions of the existing home are within the 150-foot wetland setback area already. And the main addition that is that proposed porch, the covered porch, will then be an increase in encroachment, in particular that corner. The thing I would just like, I know there was a really robust planting plan that was previously proposed. The one thing I don't have is we haven't had any kind of site visit to confirm what's existing there or what, the condition of that. I hear that it's being said that it's largely intact with that, along with the proposal, but I'd like to have potentially the opportunity to just, Will take a look at those, the existing wetlands and confirm the condition, but overall, that would be the area of impact, is that front area. The proposed additions are the small ones there are over the second floor, and they're relatively small, and they're over an area that's already kind of it looks like an existing covered porch, so much less of a encroachment into that wetland disturbance area, and then. That's really what I would recommend, is having us take just a look at the existing status of the wetlands area and just determine if anything further is needed, because sometimes the properties over time get mowed and the wetlands isn't there.
Okay. All right. So could you help center me a little bit, as I'm acting out of confusion. I'm not being negative. I'm looking at one of the many layouts of this, and I'm trying to figure out what's over existing and what's new encroachment. All right. And out of these 5 things, I'm concerned about the wetlands. So
now you have to go to the Rayner site plan.
Yeah, I'm looking at a site plan.
Engineers do a better job at making things obvious than environmental consultants.
Can he use the camera?
That one?
Yes. Now, John, do you want to point these
Got
out?
the right one.
Yeah. Can you use the camera above, please? Thank you.
Here we go.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, you ready?
Just walk me through the gray areas. Tell me what's already covered, and you're doing something on top of it, and what's new encroachment.
Okay. The last time through, I got approval for a swimming pool and a residential addition on the far side, hence the wetlands buffer. Subsequently, Frank Greenwald is going to change the house from a stucco house to a shingle-style house, which is the reason why this stoop is going to be square instead of the stucco round feature that it is currently. So that is your first area, Carol, right
So
here.
can I stop you there, so ask my question, so we
Go
don't
ahead.
get lost here? So the dotted lines underneath, that's existing, right?
Right.
So it looks like a good 95% of this is already covering the wetlands. It's not new encroachment. The only new is on the very far two corners.
Moreover, we're coming back a little bit from
Yeah.
the most forward part. But again, the reason why he's doing it is to make a shingle-style house out of a stucco
I understand.
house. So we're squaring it off, yes. We're removing part of the protrusion, which is stucco, in the front, and we're getting rid of the sweeping wing walls, and it's going to be a shingle-style improvement, which you see on the,
No, okay. How about the
Now-
proposed front, the proposed porch of 258 square feet? I'm trying to figure out what that is over. Is that new encroachment over wetlands, or it is over something existing? There's no dotted lines around that. It looks like new.
that's new, that's the
Except the
new
front
family
steps.
porch.
Okay.
That is probably the most important thing that Frank Greenwald is asking for, is the proposed porch, 258 square feet. And yes, it's largely behind the 150-foot wetlands setback, but it is a new improvement within the 200-foot wetland setback.
Okay. And then the two small boxes, if you will, due north, near the existing covered porch, those proposed additions of 11.5 square feet and 18 square feet, those are over an existing porch, so that's not new wetlands encroachment. Is that
No.
accurate?
But there are, again, important considerations to make a shingle-style house out of a stucco house.
Okay.
That's the
But you're not
main,
hurting my wetlands
they're
more
very
than you
small.
did previously.
um,
Is that accurate?
we did a pretty good job on the wetlands in the first place. In the second place, Will Bowman's very accomplished, and he's commented and helped this office out with many wetlands buffer issues in the past, not here, but in other areas. And I'm confident that Will Bowman can go look at the site and make suggestions to Lisa and get them to me, and that we can adapt from there.
Okay.
So the wetlands buffer can be maintained a little better, a little bigger.
So, well, let me ask though about these two.
Go ahead.
The existing covered porch of 486.5 square feet. There's a proposed addition of 11.5 and a proposed addition of 18. That's over the existing covered porch.
Those are over.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Good, that's all I was just trying to nail down. Thank
Yeah.
you, appreciate it.
Realistically, in terms of square footage, we're adding a very small amount of area. Most of that area is relative to the new proposed family porch.
Yeah,
That is where the driveway is. You get out of the driveway. Here's the entry into the house. The family entry is here. So they're trying to make circulation in the house more family friendly.
okay.
And I believe that's about it. Sanitary system is here, and it's well upland of the wetlands. The pool dry well has been there. There are minor improvements to the basement of the home because Sam Swint built it like a incredible strong house, the main house, the stucco house. So there are some improvements in the basement to make that portion of the property more usable. You're not really going to notice those, but they're important for the property owner.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just because I know the wetlands and the lines get like a little confusing, I just wanted to make it clear that 200-foot within 200 feet setback is a regulation that this code specifically addresses septic systems. And then the 100, that middle line is really marks where it's trying to limit structures. And then that closer line is where it's trying to limit any disturbance. So it's kind of like tiers of, how much activity it's trying to protect against in those different areas. So that if that helps a little to just contextualize, like that back porch area is almost entirely within what wouldn't, there's not a structural limit specified by the wetlands code in that area.
Yeah.
And Lisa, I'll add to that, the 200 feet for septic systems also applies to anytime you have effluent underground. So like that's why the pool dry well was written that way when we thought it was being proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lisa, help me out here then. At the 200-foot wetland setback, which is largely to regulate the septic systems, there's no structures in front of that, so I'm not going to ask about that. But between the 150 and the 200, you have a piece of that new proposed covered porch, but that was already there previously, that little corner that's at the 150 to 200 mark. The rest of it's between the 125 and the 150, and so on. But again, it was there already, and the only thing they're doing is squaring off those corners. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow the description you're giving, but yeah, that furthest line, it marks 200 feet. So, and as first thing I mentioned was that I was happy to see that they were able to replace the septic system with an IA system and also get it out beyond that 200-foot line. So they don't need they don't need the special wetlands permit for that element.
Yeah, I'm actually talking though about the opposite. See the 125-foot wetlands setback line?
Yes.
Okay, and see the 150 wetland setback line?
Yeah.
Was sitting squat in the middle, and that's a highly regulated area that we really want to protect, right? But sitting
So
squat in the middle is
yeah, exactly. So that's largely existing. What's there? There's
Yeah.
some disturbance. There was some level of structure there because there was a patio, or how it was described, and then but that area is that section where the code restricts building, and then that little corner that's beyond that is in the area that is.
right.
Restricts disturbance.
So the two sensitivities, on one hand, they're getting rid of the protrusion in the middle that's in that delicate area. On the other hand, they're adding two corners that are jutting out more. But that's the way it is. Those are the two
Yeah.
considerations. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay. All right. Sorry, and the other small box of, it's a proposed addition of 11.5 square feet to the existing covered porch. That is already covering the wetland, so that is not a new encroachment, correct? So we don't have to be terribly concerned about that in that sense.
Yes, and in that sense, the larger concern would be just the again, just like with the
Construction.
last application, construction
Right.
protocol, there'd be disturbance there. The area of disturbance is going to be larger than the area of construction.
Yeah.
And yeah, the proper procedures are implemented and things are restored.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. It was very helpful. Thank you. Anyone else on the board have questions on what they're proposing? No? Okay. The question is, Lisa, would you recommend that we adjourn this case until the February 5th meeting so they can come on back with some proposals concerning the maintenance of the existing wetlands, as you talked about originally?
Yeah, so I would say I just like the confirmation. The confirmation may be everything that's been described, which is that it's in good condition in accordance with the plan proposed and nothing further is required. And I'm happy also to draft a permit if the board, so that if that is the case, the board can move forward and take action. There's nothing that really was the only that, and just the standard, which I can handle with the conditions within the application, the standard conditions around construction and all that, that would be contained in a special permit. So if we want to take that approach, I would say that would be probably an efficient way to handle things.
I would totally agree with that approach. How do you all feel about it?
No, that sounds reasonable.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Agreed. Linda? Agreed?
Yeah, very reasonable.
Okay. Is that acceptable to you all?
Between now and February 5th, we'll assess the planting plan. We'll have conversations with Will Bowman, and we will make some modest improvements to the buffer to make the board comfortable with giving us an approval. And that would be excellent.
Okay, so you do that, and Lisa will be preparing a special permit application approval, if you will. So if we vote in going in that direction, assuming we're satisfied with the plantings, you'll be done after the next meeting. So if all goes well.
We had a minor problem, though. The battery died on
Yeah, I
it.
need a better battery.
I know that feeling.
Just,
It was
just,
fully charged when I started.
just to make you laugh.
Oh, That's what happens when we get older.
That's the way it goes.
My battery goes out now that I'm getting older too, so I sympathize with the machines.
Okay. All right, so we'll be back to the board just as quick as we can and
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
communicate with Lisa and Will Bowman.
Okay, was there a motion to adjourn that to February 5th?
Do we have a motion to adjourn to February 5th?
Motion.
Moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Very, very helpful.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Lise.
Okay. Let me just erase some of these things in a second here. Okay, so the next case is an area variance case, special exception case. It's a carryover case, case number 3215. Oh, sorry, we already did that. Never mind, I apologize. The next case is 3213, 268A North Sea Road, LLC, located at 268A North Sea Road.
So remember the board adjourned this to tonight's meeting
Right.
to give the applicant opportunity to
Yeah.
present anything further.
Good evening, everyone. And I did submit a further letter answering some of your questions and providing some more information on November 12th. I don't know, did you all receive that?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you just reintroduce?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Derek Kleinell for 268A North Sea Road, managing member and resident. So if you all read the letter, I don't need to be too redundant. You know, I'm not sure if you had a chance to get to the neighborhood, but I did kind of document for you that there's an abundance of shed and accessory structures that are directly visible from our immediate driveway and also our right-of-way off North Sea Road. I counted 17 of them, so you know, I would argue that our shed is actually kind of conforming to the character of the neighborhood, if you will. So yes, we're requesting a 7.9-foot variance from the side lot line. In my initial application, I have a letter from my neighbor. He has no issue with it. He's really the only one who I think could potentially take issue with it. And all the other information I provided in my letter. So really, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Question, is there any electricity running to it?
Nope.
Any water running to it?
Nope.
Okay. Those are my only two questions.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
I don't.
No?
No?
Joy? Oh, sorry. Does anyone in the audience have any questions they'd like to contribute to this? Is anyone on Zoom that would like to make a comment other than Linda? No? All right, so Linda and everyone. So no questions from the folks here present. Linda, do you have any questions? Yes. Are you there? Linda, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I don't have any questions. I
Okay.
remember from last time we saw pictures of
Yep.
this garden shed.
Okay. So I'll just make a comment. I would think this is an appropriate exception, and I know this is setting precedent, but there's no electricity, there's no plumbing, it's consistent with the neighborhood, it doesn't present an environmental hazard. The contiguous neighbor most affected has approved it, so I think, and there's no environmental damage. So under the criteria, I think it passes, and I think it merits an exception, if you will, and approval under the zoning rules. I'd just love to know, what do you all think of that? Because I know we're establishing a precedent here.
Well, we talked about precedent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know, but, you know, I just think that you did so much homework here, and I went around the neighborhood too, and I just wanted to see what was going on. There are a great amount of similar configurations,
Yeah.
really. I mean, it's almost everywhere there.
And some not as nice.
Definitely not as nice. I'm sorry not to throw the opinion.
I should have done more homework before we put it up, but I think I was relying on the character of the neighborhood a little bit too, and
Yeah.
that's where I didn't think it was out of place, so.
Yeah.
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 All right, so with that in mind.
And then just to remind the board, this has been discussed, but this property is a little bit unique in that it's 2,001 square feet, and had it been
That's right.
1999, it would have different zoning
It's only
setbacks.
this much off
So,
from
just a-
being completely, permissible. That's true, I do remember that. Okay, so are we prepared to vote at this time, and would we have an opinion prepared after the fact, perhaps? Or how best to handle
I would
this?
say if you don't have an opinion now and you want a long-form decision, what you might do is vote to close the hearing and ask council to prepare one for adoption at the next meeting.
Okay, why don't we do that, given the precedent? I think a long form would be good, so we're clear as to he has done the right thing and it is approved and why.
Okay, so then, Brian, you have enough information based
I
on
do,
what was
just need a
discussed?
motion to close the hearing.
Okay,
I know what I'm writing.
before we get that, I want to make sure he understands. So we're inclined to approve this, but we need to go ahead and prepare an opinion. We don't have that right now. So he'll do his homework over the next couple of weeks. We come back and we officially review the opinion and we vote if we agree with it, and then you're approved.
Understood.
So, sorry about the extra delay. It's a protocol.
Understood. No
Okay?
problem.
All right,
Yeah.
well, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn this until the next meeting?
To close the hearing
Oh, sorry, do I hear a motion to close the hearing? We're not adjourning.
and
Close
move
the
this to
hearing.
written decision.
Right, and move this to writing a decision. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'll motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Hearing is closed. We'll be writing that opinion and we'll talk about it next time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks for your help, Alex, as always. Keep
Sure.
it going. All right. The last case is a new case, case number 3222, Anthony Silitano. You have to tell me how to pronounce this. Excuse me? Stilitano. 456 Old Town Road, unit number 400, the enclosure of a pergola.
And this is a new case for which we have the affidavits of mailing and posting.
Duly noted for the record. Thank you.
For the applicant, David Gilmore Jr., David Torrey, 2317 Montauk Highway in Southampton. We do have Mr. Stilitano here, along with Lucy Liu, who is the architect. And, they're available to answer questions if you have something that I can't answer. As the legal advertisement indicates, we're looking to cover an existing pergola, which you can see here. The important part of it is that it will not be expanded. We need a setback variance to accomplish that, which is, I think if you look at the plan, a little bit ironic. The current structure sits at 47.9 feet from the property line on Old Town Road. The setback's 80, and the structure that we're proposing is actually behind in the back of the unit. So I make that point for a couple of reasons, and it's certainly highlighted by the photographs I have here and that are in the record, is that this structure will not be seen from the street, from Old Town. And as a matter of fact, it won't be seen from any of the neighboring units in this. And this is a pre-existing non-conforming parcel, and we have a CO for the pre-existing part of that, which means it was developed prior to the current zoning setbacks, which, to me creates the self-created hardship. This photograph here is right at the door to the entrance of the Stilitano property, which is in this area. And then this photograph is a little bit more set back, so it's taken from behind the fountain. And both of those show that the property is really enclosed. And our issue is we're putting a roof over the structure. It's not expanding, and that creates the new structure, which needs the setback and which needs the lot coverage. The other salient point that I'd like to make before we really get into the balancing test is every other unit in this complex has a screened-in porch, and you'll see them here. This is split between unit 200 and 300. There's a screen porch here and a screen porch here for units 500 and 600. This porch is an outdoor porch, and it's not screened, but every other unit in the complex has a screened-in porch. So as we turn to the balancing test, the character of the neighborhood, I'd submit that a grant of the variance here would make this unit more in keeping with the character of this property. And I'd say the neighborhood is really based on the enclosure and based on the improvements. This is the neighborhood, and it makes it more consistent with the character to have a screened-in porch. The benefit, to the applicant is obvious, right? You have a screened-in porch where you're not impacted by insects, during the summer period. So the character of the neighborhood is really defined by the presence of these screened-in porches. The alternative is not possible here. We're covering an enclosed pergola, and to meet the 80-foot setback would put us somewhere back here, and then the rest of the porch would go back into the patio area. So it makes no sense conceptually to try and make it comply. So there is no alternative. When we look at the substantiality test, the New York State courts have been clear that you're supposed to consider the totality of the circumstances, just not the numeric value. In both regards, on substantiality, I think we really meet or satisfy that prong of the test. It's a roughly 17% variance from the code, and the circumstances or the totality of the circumstances are it cannot be seen from Old Town Road because of the hedges and then the structure that's in front of it, and then the hedging that I mentioned before that surrounds it. There are no environmental issues that will come out of this 158 square foot improvement. Stormwater runoff will be captured on site. The improvement won't affect the light and air of anybody's, which is what zoning tries to protect. It will not have a negative impact on that. It won't create space where you can have a bedroom or a bathroom, right? This is a screened-in porch, say 3-season room, so there'd be no environmental impacts. And with respect to the self-created hardship prong, again, this is a pre-existing property. It's a pre-existing pergola that we're trying to convert. I think it was the adoption of zoning that created the hardship, not the existence of the pergola. The Stilitanos purchased the property with the pergola there in place. It's existed for many, many, many years, and I think it's a nice improvement and certainly very beneficial for the Stilitanos to have.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you. Any comments from anyone else in the room? There's no one else actually except folks that are applying for this. So,
Carol, just for the board's context, the reason why you have attached houses here in R120 is, as David said, these buildings date from 1921,
Right.
So they predate zoning.
Pre-existing.
They were built as villas to house people as part of the H.H. Rogers estate. This is where their staff lived.
Really?
They are considered a contributing building to the Southampton Village Historic District, so if approved by this board, they would then go to the ARB to get a certificate of appropriateness.
I didn't know
But that's
that.
why their situation here is a little bit unusual.
That's interesting. So they're going to have to get an exception for a historical building.
Not an exception, just a standard certificate of appropriateness. But that's why you see buildings that are substantially out of compliance with the zoning ordinance.
Interesting. That's fun facts. Okay. Any comments from anyone on Zoom, other than Linda? No? All right. Board, any comments from anyone on the board? Any questions?
Just, there are other units that are there. Are there neighbors that, is there a group or a?
There's a homeowners association.
And is there any pushback on that or any questions or?
There wasn't any pushback. The response from the homeowners association was go and see if you get the variance and then we'll take it up formally, but.
Oh, okay. Is that right?
It's very,
Correct. Okay.
and again, we have another board to go to.
Right, I figured this is an
Yeah.
internal one, but I was curious how it works. So it's kind of the cart before the horse, because if there was issue, we would want to know about that from the neighbors.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
if they
I
want
don't, my understanding is they didn't want to have the meeting without our ability to
Right,
be
I
able
get
to
it.
do it. Like, this
Right.
was the first step.
Yeah.
The buck starts here instead of stops here, right?
Well, I can't speak for the neighbors, but if they all have the porch, it would seem awkward for them, and Sabrina, it would be awkward for them to say no.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, that's
Right.
bizarre.
Yeah, just asking.
So I don't know if that's a killer. All right.
Can I just make a
Please,
comment?
please.
I'm actually the homeowner.
Oh, sorry, we just need you to come up to the microphone first, otherwise Linda can't hear you at home.
I'm the homeowner of Stilatano.
Well, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here. Our intention is to finish the screened porch as an exact duplicate to the other 5 existing porches. We were told that if we didn't want to go that route, we could simply put a canvas roof over it and some screened panels in. But in maintaining a continuous look throughout these 6 units, we chose to go this path, which was to duplicate the other screened porches which exist there today. So our intention is not to bring any utilities in, although I think there is an electrical outlet which comes out of the exterior wall, but we're not going to be bringing any water or heat or air conditioning. It's strictly a screened area to keep bugs out so that we can enjoy the space.
Sure.
3 seasons rather than just 1.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for that. Thank you. Other comments? No? I think we're at the same point. Are we prepared to make a decision and actually vote this evening? I know I am, and then we can have we can close the hearing, have prepare. But no, we could do a short form on this one.
It's up to the board, depending on how much documentation. If there's sometimes a concern about a precedent for lot coverage, you might want to explain why you're distinguishing this case from others. If not, you could do it as a short form decision, but that's up to the board.
Okay, Brian, your thoughts? Precedent and all that?
You could put enough in a short form decision, even as a short form decision,
Yeah.
that would justify what you have going on here without putting in full findings. So
I'm leaning towards short
either way.
form on this one, given the facts. All right. What do the rest of the board members think? Short form?
Yes,
I,
let's go with the short form.
Okay.
yeah, I'm fine with that, although I would defer to council here whether or not the historic element of this having to go before the ARB.
That's a good point.
I mean, do you think we need more
Is the ARB
documentation or
no,
anything,
no.
or no?
They'll go there and present that they received the variance.
Okay, all right.
That's
Okay.
it.
No, that was a good question.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I suggest we do the short form. All right, everyone agree? Okay.
Yeah.
What that means is we'll go ahead and
understand.
vote tonight, and then I will sign an opinion, a short opinion during the week, and off we go, and that'll be that. All right, just propose the vote then? All those in favor of approving the variance request?
You have to do it by motion.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but that's where we're gonna
Oh.
go? We just, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the request for the variance?
I motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the requested 2 variances? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None? It is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. All right. And that is the last case for the evening. Thanks, everyone. Do I hear a motion to close this hearing? Motion to close?
So moved?
Second? Linda, second?
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thanks, you guys.